Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Today I'm going to be doing a top 7 of your suggestions for the most important things that you want to see happen in DLC 2 for Infinite Warfare Zombies. I asked you on Twitter what were the things that you felt were absolutely paramount for Infinity Ward to do and to introduce into DLC 2 in order for it to be a success. I collected every single reply, and I've now got a full list of the 7 most common suggestions from you, my wonderful viewers, on Twitter last night. And by the way, I ask you guys a lot of questions like this on Twitter, and it's always for a reason. I'm always doing it to potentially use that information for a video, or potentially try and figure out which sorts of videos would appeal to you guys the most. So if you're not following me on Twitter right now already, scroll down into the description of this video and you'll be able to click onto my Twitter and give me a follow. I don't bite, I promise. This is going to be a fairly small sample size compared to the 900,000 subscribers on my channel now. Holy moly! You guys are the best, and you've been so supportive over the last year and a half, 2 years, that we've made it, so crazy stuff. Let's get into the list. Number 7. Gun selection. This is no real surprise to me. You spin that mystery box, and more often than not, you feel like you get something completely useless from it. Now, we've had this happen in Zombies games in the past. In Black Ops 2, for example, you'd get the SMR, then you'd get the SMR, and then you'd get the damn SMR. Holy moly, that thing didn't even shoot straight. So, we've improved from those sorts of times, but you sometimes get something out of the box, and it just feels bad. Just ensuring that there's actually viable weapons to use past round sort of 30, maybe 40, stuff like that, is really rather important in a Zombies mode. Number 6. A shield. Now, this one took me really by surprise, because towards the beginning of my little data collection process, nobody was mentioning a shield. And then, suddenly, by the end of that process, it had risen to number 6 on the list, which really was a shock to me, because personally, I don't think that the people that have asked for a shield necessarily want one. In Blundell Zombies, a shield serves multiple purposes. The primary one being that if you don't have a shield in Black Ops 3, there's a good chance that you're going to be either on the floor or red healthed at least fairly often, just because of the fact that the zombies are so aggressive. That's one of the reasons that they gave you more health in Black Ops 3, and that's also one of the reasons why the shield became so prominent. Infinite Warfare just doesn't feel like it needs it to me. But the shield itself is so ingrained in our culture, though, as a zombies community, as we've had it throughout all of those maps in Black Ops 3, that I guess people just feel a bit naked without one. Number 5. Replayability. Now, this is super duper ambiguous. What the hell does it mean to just say, oh, I want the map to be replayable? Obviously, everyone wants the map to be replayable, but how do the devs actually go about doing that? Well, I'm going to ask you guys right now to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. What is the key to achieving that? But I'll also give you my thoughts on this just very briefly now. The fact that so many people were asking for replayability just kind of goes to show that the Infinite Warfare Zombies team haven't necessarily cracked the nut of what makes zombies tick just yet. Zombies, over the years, has been attractive to the fan base for certain reasons, and those reasons have changed over time. Back during World at War, you were actually physically going through heart palpitations half the damn time you were playing because you'd be in Verrückt, and then suddenly a baby would start crying, the zombies would be sprinting towards you like madmen, and it was frightening. And then that kind of changed in Black Ops 1, and you had this entire story, and yes, of course, that story was around in World at War, but it was really being kind of applied to the game now. This story was something that was a pillar of the mode, as opposed to some auxiliary component. And so people started getting interested in that, and they started playing to do things like Easter eggs when Ascension came out, and that sound by the generator outside the map started chiming. People were really curious, and it brought about an entirely new way to approach the zombies mode. And that's again changed over the years. We've got Black Ops 3, which has done all sorts of crazy things. We've got the quest to get to basically an end cutscene for each map and things like that, which sort of got introduced, I suppose, a little bit with Black Ops 2, and also with Advanced Warfare as well. Got to give that team credit. Sledgehammer have done a good job there. But I think the Infinite Warfare Zombies, or certainly the Infinity Ward team, are kind of yet to figure out what it is that they want to stamp onto the zombies mode as the Infinity Ward modus operandi. I think there's room for improvement there. Number 4. new perks. This is a direction that I'm surprised they haven't pushed deeper into so far. Black Ops 3 left a huge void in the new perk category. We had Widow's Wine, great, but the emphasis on gobblegums throughout that game meant that new perks were kind of a forgotten idea. And yes, Infinity Ward have done certain things like introduce Trailblazers, hell yeah, that's cool, but despite that, it's number 4 on the list. It's one of the most highly requested features, is new, exciting perks, and did see a few people mention Fate and Fortune as well. Be cool to get some new innovation in that area, as well as the perks area, and just give us more options. Leave a comment down below with a suggestion for your dream perk. Number 2, a better story. Or in fact, a story in the first place. At CoD XP last year, when we played Infinite Warfare Zombies for the first time, I was sitting next to John, Mr. Dalek JD, and Codename Pizza. We played a little bit, and they were both like, oh my goodness, this is really good, I'm really surprised. I was sitting there, looking at it from my perspective, and going, oh man, I've been listening very attentively for the last whatever it was that I'd been playing the game for, and the story had not jumped out at me in any capacity. It had felt extremely thinly sprinkled on the player in the time that I got with the game, and that was a major cause for concern for me. And I said to people at Activision and people at Infinity Ward, and just generally, I spoke my mind on the topic as much as I could, and I said, I'm worried that the story is not going to live up to the expectations that we have, seeing as the Blundellverse is so complex and crazy and twisted and cute, gritty and visceral and exciting and kind of just generally weird. I mean, it's built on conspiracy theory, which is interesting itself. It's extremely interesting. It's so much so that you then compare it to something like Infinite Warfare, and I think that this was the case for Extinction as well. You compare the story that they laid out in Point of Contact to something like the Blundellverse, and it's just like, guys, it's just not cutting the mustard. Lee Ross, in the back of his head, or on his desk probably in his office, has a very, very articulate and interesting story that he wants to tell with this mode. But so far, despite the fact that they did make certain changes in DLC 1 to try and introduce certain story elements and things like that, and give you a bit of information about Willard Wyler himself, and his family and things like that, and his motivation, it still isn't doing what Treyarch does, in that Treyarch appeals to the player with a bunch of story information and then says, dog, go fetch. And you're pretty much forced into kind of worming your way through the maze of complete complexity that is Treyarch Zombies in order to figure out what the hell is going on. In Infinite Warfare, there is no such motivation. It's more like, yo, yeah, so do you want to just kind of shoot some stuff for a bit? And then in the background, you got Willard Wyler saying, your performances are less good than softcore porn actors. Really? Major yikes. So that's why number 2 on the list is a story. Like, seriously, people were saying a story, not even a better story. A lot of people were just saying, can you actually, like, start the storytelling now? And to an extent, I'm inclined to agree. Number 1, a better Easter egg. Let's for a moment consider the steps in the Raven the Redwoods Easter egg, okay? Building some stuff, well, okay, that's not exactly interesting at all. That's even less interesting than just shooting some random bones or rocks floating about in Revelations. Then you get onto the next bit, soul boxes, and I mean, we've had soul boxes since forever, and they're the most common trick of custom mappers that are just not very creative with their Easter eggs. No offense to people that use them, but soul boxes are a crutch in a lot of ways. And then there's a boss fight. And I gotta say, the boss fight was cool. It wasn't hard, but it was cool. I like the fact that it was multi-layered. I like the fact that there were sort of different challenges that it did at different times. It was a cool boss fight. The alien in Spaceland as well, a hella cool boss fight. So I've gotta give credit where credit's due. Infinite Warfare Zombies is really good with its boss fights, or at least it certainly has been so far. All of that solved in 6 hours. I honestly think that 6-hour solve is one of the worst things that could possibly have happened to Infinite Warfare Zombies as a mode this year. DLC 1 is a point in the cycle where people try out buying their first DLC. They don't necessarily have the season pass, and they're like, you know what, if this one's good, maybe I will pick up the others. Maybe I will try and figure out how this story's going to end in the future maps. Maybe I'm interested. But what I think the 6 Hour Solve did is it basically said to people, this is all we've got. We are super duper limited in our scope of Easter egg design, and, I mean, was there an end cutscene? Yes. How long was it? 20 seconds? Something like that? Did it really feel like an Easter egg end cutscene after Black Ops 3? No. Not really. It felt like basically a cut to black, pretty much. Like, it wasn't really that momentous. It was just some silhouettes. Had that Easter egg been super deep, it would have done the mode a favor, because you'd have had people like myself and like John and like Peter and like Noah streaming the damn map. Instead, that 6 Hour Solve basically stuck the knife in the heart of Infinite Warfare Zombies in a lot of ways, and this next map is going to be a bit of a litmus test with regards to whether they can heal from that wound and still come out fighting for DLC 2, and then obviously 3 and 4 in the future as well. Let's not even get into the concept of whether there's going to be a DLC 5 and what absolute ravaging effect that might have on the Infinite Warfare Zombies mode itself, because if DLC 5 comes out, no one is going to care about Infinite Warfare anymore. If they drop a bunch of remakes, and they're full-on remakes like The Giant with really new story and new cutscenes, oh my god, new cutscenes. I hadn't even thought about the fact that there might be new cutscenes in a DLC 5. Oh my god, I'm gonna need to sit down, and I'm already sitting down. Oh, that's a spicy thought indeed, a spicy meatball. Getting back on topic, god damn it, I'm too passionate about Treyarch Zombies, for goodness sake, the Plunderverse is too exciting. Those are your top 7 most important suggestions for Infinite Warfare Zombies, but you might not agree with this list, and if that's the case, then leave your top 7 things down below in the comments so that I can have a read, and maybe when we've seen the trailer, which will be coming out on Tuesday, the stapled sausage trailer, oh god, we'll then hopefully be able to check back in and see if it looks like they're going to be acting on some of the suggestions that you guys have provided. I'm going to be covering Infinite Warfare Zombies for the rest of the year, despite the fact that views on the content are not as good as Treyarch Zombies stuff. Despite the fact that I'm super duper busy with university work right now, my exams are in a month, pretty much, so it's all action stations for me, and then I've got an internship probably in a quantum key distribution lab, probably, which is like quantum cryptography. It's really cool stuff. That's probably going to be happening in the summer, so I'm a busy guy, but I should be able to make some time for E3 in June, which is super exciting because E3 is just the freaking best, and I'm going to be making an effort to cover Infinite Warfare Zombies till the very end. So, I'm MrRoflWaffles, thanks for watching the video, guys. If you've enjoyed this, then please leave a like, that would be fantastic. And let me know what sort of things you might want to see on the channel in the next couple of days and weeks as well. Bye!